The Central Valley of California comprises two individual valleys, their river systems, and the delta they form. To the south is the San Joaquin River Valley. To the north, the Sacramento River Valley. And right in the middle, the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta. The Sacramento River, and the valley it drains, consists of more than 26,000 square miles, and covers 19 counties in Northern California. The San Joaquin River Valley consists of more than 15,000 square miles, covering 6 counties of Northern California, and 1 in Southern California. The Sacramento River starts high in the mountains of Northern California. Originating in the Klamath National Forest, the Sacramento River's main feed starts at the Box Canyon Dam, where several creeks, as well as the north and south branch of the Sacramento River, all come together and form Lake Siskiyou. There are 3 main rivers that flow into the Sacramento River: the American, the Feather, and the Pitt Rivers. Each one with dozens of smaller feeder rivers, creeks, and tributaries. While the northern drainage encompasses a few large rivers, each stretching hundreds of miles, with their own small feeds. The South Valley has multiple, short, large rivers, that also have dozens of feeder rivers, creeks, and tributaries. The San Joaquin River starts east of Fresno in the Yosemite National Park. It starts off snaking its way west, and then turns north. It makes its way through the valley, the delta, and finally into San Francisco Bay. Along the way it takes on the water of 5 other major rivers that flow out of the mountainous border of the Central California Valley: the Mokelumne, the Calaveras, the Stanislaus, the Tuolumne, and the Merced Rivers. When you look at an aerial map of California, you can see how this Central Valley creates a bowl. In the image seen here, I've drawn a black line around the high points. The arrows assume the direction of flow for the waters of this area, and begin to explain why this area is prone to disastrous flooding. Covering almost half of the state, all of the water that is generated across this valley must exit through the San Joaquin-Sacramento Delta, into the Suisun Bay, through its system of tributary marshes, through the San Francisco Bay, and into the Pacific Ocean. The Sacramento River has been dubbed the Nile of the West, because of its importance in the agriculture of Northern California. The Sacramento drains 31% of runoff in the state of California, and is used to irrigate some 2 million acres of crop lands. When comparing rivers, the Sacramento is equal in the speed and volume of the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River may be 4 times as long as the Sacramento, its volume of flow is relatively the same. The Sacramento flows 22 million acre-feet of water annually, or 7.2 quadrillion gallons per year. The San Joaquin River in comparison flows about 1/3 as much water annually. About 8 million acre-feet, or 2.6 quadrillion gallons per year. It also serves to provide Southern California with life, irrigating some 2.1 million acres of farmlands, along with providing clean drinking water to the residents of the area. These 2 river systems converge in the Delta region south of Sacramento City. There in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta the combined output of almost 10 quadrillion gallons per year flows out to sea. That's enough water to fill Lake Erie almost 80 times. Amazingly, at this rate, the outflow into Suisun Bay could fill Lake Erie every 4.5 days. With this kind of power, what does it take to control Mother Nature? Above all, money. Billions are spent annually on maintaining the existing structures, and creating new. For over 150 years, local and state governments with federal assistance have been trying to tame these wild rivers of Central California. A study released in 2017 estimated that at least $2 billion, and upwards of $3 billion in any given year, are spent annually for flood control in California. The same study found that 1 in 5 California residents live in an at-risk area. At risk meaning a flood event could occur, at any time, in any given year. These flood risk assessments and their associated management projects are made in part by these four agencies in California: the Army Corps of Engineers, the Central California Flood Protection Board, California's Department of Water Resources, the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. There are a handful of other flood control entities within California, all within their respective watersheds, all with the same mission. As a combined effort, they study, plan and execute any changes to the river and its control devices. There are thousands of miles of levees and control devices that have been installed and require maintenance, and sometimes, even new construction. Older levees will begin to leak, allowing water to seep through or under. In some cases these levees are no longer tall enough and the fear of them being topped by floodwaters becomes real. In the past 50 years, there have been many flooding disasters recorded in the Central Valley. Levees built to control these past floods are no longer strong enough, tall enough or solid enough to hold back the flood waters. With more and more new construction being added in the Central Valley, the natural, pervious grounds are covered with man-made, hard non-pervious materials. The roofs of buildings, concrete and blacktop all allow the runoff water to become supercharged. With little or no devices to impede the flow, these weather events become flash floods with raging torrents of water. When the European settlers found this area, it must have seemed like paradise. The rivers, full of life, would rejuvenate the valley with natural flooding events. The winter's snows would melt, the spring and summer rains would fall, and the valley would flood. Year after year, the accounts from the natives and the settlers who came to this area would describe the flooding rivers as being miles wide during flood events. Resembling a large inland lake, the silts would settle and the water would slowly flow out to the ocean. From these headwaters and their associated floods, the valley bottom land became rich and fertile. For the next 2 centuries, people would flock to the area. It was here, on the west coast of North America, that gold was first discovered. Found in the American River in 1848, it resulted in over 100,000 people relocating to the area in the first 18 months after the discovery. The entire area would grow overnight, with no plan and no future. As time continued, the area would be mined out, and agriculture would take over and dominate the countryside, becoming one of the largest agricultural hubs in the world, with over 400 different varieties of crops grown. The valley owes its fruitfulness to the variety of climates and the abundance of natural irrigation from its many river systems. The original flow of the Sacramento River has long been lost, it no longer rests on its prehistoric bed. Starting in 1878, William Hammond Hall, an engineer with the state of California, devised a comprehensive flood control plan. Using a system of levees, weirs, and bypass channels, the Sacramento Flood Control Agency would reroute the river to protect urban centers and the growing population. With each passing year, more construction would occur upstream of the current flood control devices. With every new construction project, more runoff was added to the already overburdened river systems. The result became that past projects were no longer effective at controlling the river's flow. As more severe weather events strike the Central Valley, as developers set eyes upon virgin lands, we should expect the devastation of these equations to become worse. The agencies in charge of monitoring the situation seem to only work in defense. No care is taken towards eliminating runoff, or allowing flooding of certain controlled areas. How much engineering does it require to control thousands of miles of wild rivers? The answer is quite dramatic. There are at least 36 dams and accompanying reservoirs on the Sacramento River system, including all feeder rivers, creeks, and tributaries. The San Joaquin River contains more than the Sacramento, with over 40 dams and reservoirs constructed to tame the wild flood-prone river. The two river systems flow slowly towards the delta where they merge together. For most of this meandering system, the rivers flowed between steep banks. This helped to contain the flow and gave engineers and builders the foundation to dam off valleys and contain the flood water. As the river systems make their way to the delta, they flow slowly through the flat bottom land of the valleys. It is here that planned engineering has influenced the river the most and suffered the consequences. Over 3,000 miles of levees, spill channels, and containment weirs have been built and maintained to control the flow of the river. Even with trillions spent, it does not seem like any benefit is taken. These flood control projects, costing billions of dollars, only seem to delay the inevitable, creating false security over the real estate that they are intended to protect. The entire population for the area of the Central Valley is 5.93 million people. According to that study from 2017, 1 in 5 or just over 1 million people are directly at threat from a flooding event. The agencies in charge are actively working to manage the flood waters. After every major incident, the failures are analyzed and corrections are made. But what about future events that surpass historic events? As more and more new construction is added around the river basin, and with no foresight or governance from the local authorities, bad practices of building will continue to be implemented, creating catastrophe and disaster for future generations. When the only foresight that comes is used to count profits, the entire system is damned. Thanks for watching the video. Let us know what you think. Leave us a like or a comment. Click that subscribe button, and as always, have a wonderful day.